I have a question for the panel. What's going on in Boston?
To me,
You think it's something internal?
no, I think that they have been affected and impacted by COVID like no other team. And I'm not saying this for an excuse. I'm saying this that Jayson Tatum missed 16 games.
Yep.
I think Jaylen Brown missed 7 games.
Kemba Walker was coming
been
off an off-season injury.
Off-season injury. They've had 10 or 11 players that have missed 1 game or more.
Marcus
because
Smart
of
missed
COVID.
double-digit games.
Yeah, because of COVID protocol. So to me, you look at the Lakers and how great they are. Their 2 guys are out for a couple games. They dropped to 4. Boston's 2 games, 2.5 games out of 4th place right now?
We all know by now that the Boston Celtics haven't had the best season, as many would have wished. After what many, including myself, believe that the Boston Celtics could have been challenging for a championship this season, the wheels have been stuttering, to say it kindly. But it seems like the wheels are back in rotation. Boston has gone 4-0 in their past 4 games, and after the trade deadline, they have been 8-3. But just looking beyond their record, the Celtics have improved significantly in some key areas. So let's break it down. Let's talk about what the Boston Celtics have been doing a lot better in this span, and how they can continue this for the rest of the season. Now, most people in this stretch are just going to remember the final result against the Denver Nuggets and Jayson Tatum's heroics in their game against the Trailblazers. But the thing about this, the Celtics defense has played a massive role in their improved stretch of play. Before the trade deadline, the Celtics were not a good defensive team. And this is somewhat surprising, because after all, the Celtics retained most of their players from last year that posted a defensive rating 4th in the entire league. But this year, their defensive rating was only 1 ranking above the Brooklyn Nets, the same Brooklyn Nets team that has been exposed mightily by the media and the fans for the lack of defense despite that star-studded lineup. So fast forward after the trade deadline, the Celtics went from being a dumpster truck of a defensive team to elite. How's this the case? Well, let's look at the game tape, shall we? After March 25th, the Celtics have had a defensive rating of 107.1, placing them 5th in the league, which is much better than their 112.6 rating that they sustained before the trade deadline. Now, at this point, some may ask, how did the Celtics drastically improve their defense by this much when they didn't even trade for a defensive specialist during the deadline? They got Evan Fournier, but Evan is more of a scoring guard if anything. You know what's been the answer though? Anybody noticed when this guy came back after suffering his injury against the Lakers? I mean, just in their most recent game against the Trailblazers, the face stats will show that Smart had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. Pretty good. But what most people won't pay attention to is that Marcus, in that same game, recovered 71% of Lou's 50-50 ball chances, got 3 deflections, and had 6 good shot contests. You know what these stats tell me? Not only is Smart able to create easy fast break opportunities for Boston, but he is also able to prevent scoring venues for opposing teams at the same time. But honestly, probably the most impressive part from Marcus against the Trailblazers, when having to guard Damian Lillard, one of the best scoring guards in this league, he held him to 1 for 5 shooting from the field. Alas, being a good defensive team requires more than just one player. Marcus is a key part of the Celtics' success, but he requires that same mentality being held throughout his teammates, and Jayson Tatum acknowledged this. After their game, Tatum told reporters how they need to match Smart's intensity, how they need to take every possession with an intensity that isn't matched by the opposing team. And once they do this consistently, they'll be that same Celtics team defensively from last year that was so hard to score on. It's a small sample size so far, I can't lie, but based on what we have seen, this Celtics team is starting to get their defensive swagger back. But another area of change that has been extremely noticeable is actually ironically Jayson Tatum, and here's why. I know what you may be thinking. Tatum has been extremely good for the Celtics relatively throughout the whole season. Why would he even be included in a video like this? Well, the reason is that Tatum has drastically changed the type of shots that he wants to get in any particular game. Again, let's use the pre and post All-Star break analogy with the shot selection for Jayson Tatum. Before the All-Star break, Tatum would only attempt shots within the paint 22% of the time, scoring 5.5 points a game in this category. Not bad. After the break though, Tatum has been more and more aggressive trying to finish around the rim, with 27% of his attempts coming in this manner, and scoring an increased 8.1 points per game. What this has done for his game is that he's being much more selective and smarter with the perimeter shots that he does take, because he knows he can get those anytime he wants. What do I mean by this? Well, Tatum, since the All-Star break, is really shooting the same amount of 3-point attempts before the break occurred. But ever since coming back, he has been shooting the 3-point ball at a 45% clip. His regular season average is 38.4. It's already good in itself, but that 45% is much more impressive. Another reason for that high shooting percentage from 3, Tatum is now starting to simplify the game. Before March 25th, Tatum would have around 45% of his shots attempted come from somewhere other than the 3-point line or from the paint, which isn't bad, considering how the game is played today. But since the break, he has kept it extremely simple. Around only 33% of his shot attempts come from somewhere other than those two categories. In simplicity, Tatum is having an aggressive get to the basket first mentality. If and when he gets there, he is able to finish 73% of the shots that he does attempt. And if he can't get into the lane, he'll likely either take an open jump shot from 3, which he has been hitting at an extremely elite level, or mix in a mid-range jump shot here and there. Tatum's improved shot selection, Jaylen Brown being Jaylen Brown, and the drastically improved defense has played a large role into the Celtics' renaissance. The question though that now needs to be asked is, what should Celtic fans expect for the rest of the season? Consistency, consistency, consistency. It's easier said than done. This has been the issue that the Celtics have had. I'm not gonna lie when I say that I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics couldn't keep this up. But my reason for optimism is that the Celtics have dealt with key injuries, and for once this season, they're finally starting to get healthy and playing with that playoff intensity. So if they can keep this up barring no injuries, I can see that team that did make the Eastern Conference Finals last year. What do you guys think? Let me know. Until next time, peace.